Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Timwe Presents. Today we're going to take a look at Fun with Numbers, which is another puzzle from the KTANE puzzle Plethora. Now I've playtested this puzzle before it was published, but before publication some significant changes were made to it, and because of that my live solve is no longer applicable. So I'm just going to summarize the puzzle, knowing how it works. But I urge you to try this puzzle. I think it's a very good puzzle, and you can use this video for hints, right? You can pause the video at various places and try and see if you can come up with the next step. Alright, so first of all, what is this even about? Fun with numbers. And we have these cards which all have clues on them. So let's find, like, this one here seems to mean absolutely nothing to me. So I'm just gonna Google for that. So let's put that into Google. There we go. And we will notice that this is some product for DIY which has the word superlogic in its name. So this seems to quite clearly be hinting at the module superlogic. Alright, so let's just write that down. Now the first one says baseball position. I can only think of one KTANE module that is named after a baseball position, and that is third base. And obfuscated jacket decorations. Well, what decorates a jacket? Well, buttons, obviously, right? But what is obfuscated? Well, let's think of another word for obfuscated that comes up in the name of a KTANE module with buttons in the name. And out of these, I think the only one that really fits is complicated. So this is complicated buttons. The next one says Kevin from Battle Royale game, even if you have no idea what the clue is hinting at. You can just Google for that and just look at the results a little, and you will notice that that is in fact a character named the Cube. So we can literally just write that down. Then we have arrays of pixels, first game in Sega franchise. Now these are two separate clues. Arrays of pixels, if you know any basic programming, is what's known as a bitmap. And because it was in the plural, it's bitmaps. And the first game in the Sega franchise, well, the very first game that Sega ever made on the Sega Mega Drive, or Sega Genesis as it's known in the US, is Sonic the Hedgehog, which at the time was the huge rival to Super Mario Land from Nintendo. The next one says preservation. Can you think of a KTANE module whose name is just a synonym of preservation? Well, let's take a look at a thesaurus and put preservation in there. There are quite a few words that come up, but none of them are a KTANE module except for one, and that is maintenance. So the answer is maintenance. Now you might find some other words like support which occur on a KTANE module, like this one occurs on friendship, but maintenance is the only one out of these that I can see that is literally the name of a module. Safety would be missing the extra word safe, so safety safe. Right, and none of the others. Okay, so the next one would be Dodie Smith novel plus advanced cables. Now, advanced cables should be quite easy. That's obviously complicated wires. We don't have any like enhanced wires or advanced wires. So let's see what the Dodie Smith novel is. I've never heard of Dodie Smith. Dodie Smith novel, there you go. Okay, 101 Dalmatians appears to be written by Dodie Smith. So that seems to be Dalmatians. That seems to be the answer here, because that is also the name of a KTANE module. Despicable Me villains. If you've never seen the movie Despicable Me, then you might be forgiven for not knowing that there is a villain named Vector. So let's just type that in. It's pluralized, villains, so I'm gonna put vectors, and obviously also because vectors is the name of a module. And then we have a dash, ratchet blocks. Now, what is ratchet? Well, a ratchet is, of course, something you use in DIY. But if you scroll down a little, you'll notice that Ratchet is also the name of a character from a franchise named Ratchet and Clank. And if you've ever played the game, or maybe even seen the movie, you will know that Ratchet is a Lombax. It's a fictional species named Lombax. And also, even if you don't know Ratchet and Clank, you may or may not know that Lombax Cubes was in fact inspired by the Ratchet and Clank series of video games, as were several other modules by the same author. Now, blocks obviously is a synonym for cubes, so that fits. That light toggler. Now, what toggles the light? It's obviously a switch, but now this time it doesn't say togglers, so it's not switches, and it specifically says that in front to imply that it has the definite article, the switch. And then we have a joke in the manual. Well, I don't know if all of them are jokes, but it's clear that this is hinting at flavor texts, and that is also the name of a module. Boolean devices. Well, Boolean deals with zeros and ones, and the sort of flipping of binary bits. What else deals with that? Well, logic circuits, of course. And what kind of devices do you have in a circuit? Logic gates is the answer. And then we have piping system, which is just another word for plumbing, and line segment virtues. Now that one's interesting. Line segment, there are different kinds of line segments, right? So if we look that up in a thesaurus, like here, we don't really find much there, because we're actually looking for a specific type of line segment. Let's see if this one lists it. Well, it does list a few things, but not the one we're looking for. But let's try virtue and see if we can find something. Now, another word for virtue is, if I can find it, quality. There you go. So what module has quality in the name? Right, all the other ones don't occur in a module name. So the answer is chord qualities, and once you realize that a chord is also another word for a line segment in a circle in geometry. So that actually fits. So we want chord qualities. Finally, we have medical radiation. That should be easy. It's obviously X-ray. And then visually impaired set of corridors. Now, when I solved this, I first wrote blind alley, because visually impaired is blind. Set of corridors. See, I assumed that because it's set rather than sets, it would be in the singular, and alley is in the singular. But an alley is just a single corridor, not a set of corridors. So the correct answer is in fact blind maze, which a maze is indeed a set of corridors. Alright, so what's the next thing to do? We still haven't used the title, if that even means anything, and we haven't used those digits at the bottom. Now, in order to figure out something about the next step, you might notice that these numbers at the bottom, if you add them all up, let's quickly do this. If we change all of the spaces to plus signs and remove all of these things, if we add them all up, we will notice that we get 33. And how many of these notes are there? Well, 3 plus 3 plus 5, that's actually 11. So we have numbers adding up to 33, and we have 11 notes. What does that tell us? Well, it tells us that we expect every note to give us 3 of something, 3 somethings. So I'm just going to put some space here. And we're looking for something with 3, maybe 3 letters or 3 digits. Pause the video here if you can, if you want to give it a go. Otherwise, the answer is the title hints at a module which is often abbreviated FUN and which has numbers in it. So the module we're referring to is Forget Us Not. That's this module here, and it has a long list of 3-digit numbers for many KTANE modules. So let's find them all out. Third base is 125, complicated buttons is 104, and if we add them all up, we get 229, which by the way is not a 3-digit code, so it makes sense that the puzzle author would have to use this arithmetic to get to the number. Right, 112 for super logic, so let's put that here. The cube is simply 821. Bitmaps is 748, and Sonic the Hedgehog is 643. So let's subtract those. That gives us 105. So yeah, the dash is of course a minus sign. Right, maintenance is 521. 101 Dalmatians is 101, quite fittingly. And complicated wires, not complicated wires, that's 2. So we just add 2, we get 103. Vectors is 724. Lombax cubes is 612. And that's a minus. So let's find the subtraction there. That's 112. It's the same answer as for superlogic, so it makes sense that the author wouldn't want to just reuse superlogic. The switch is 57. And flavor text is 494. So let's add those up. We get 551. Logic gates gives us 111. That's an interesting number. Plumbing is 301. Chord qualities is 143. 143. It gives us 444. I hope I did that right. I tried to do that in my head for some reason. X-ray is 520. And finally, blind maze is 306. So we're left with 214. Okay, now we have a bunch of 3-digit numbers. And of course, we have these numbers. What do we do with those? And why are they separated with vertical lines? Again, think about this and take a look at the puzzle, because the puzzle actually tells you kind of what to do next. Pause the video here. Otherwise, the answer is as follows. You can see that the nodes are pointed at in this sort of snaky fashion. You can see that this one goes down in a column and then it jumps back up to the top. You go down another column and it jumps back up to the top, and you go down another column. Right, and by the way, we have these 3-digit numbers, so obviously we want to group digits into these groups as specified by these. But in what order is the question? And the nodes tell you the order, right? So you go down the columns and then up to the start of the next column. And with that we get 2, and then 18, and then 15, and then 11. So I'm just going to write these down. We have 2, 18, 15, 11, and then 5 is a single digit. That's what the 1 is hinting at. And then we have a break. So presumably that might be where another word starts. So then we have a single 2, then we have 21, 20, 20, 15, 14, 19, and then we have another vertical line there. Then we get 1, 2, 2, 1. So we want 1, 2, 2, 1, and then finally 1, 2, and 1. Now what do we do with these numbers? Again, pause the video if you want to think about it. And the answer is, we turn them into letters. And we get B, R, O, K, E, N. Oh look, that forms the word broken, so we probably did something right. Then we get B, U, T, T, O, N, S. But broken buttons, that's the name of a module. Hey, is that the answer? Well, not yet. We haven't finished yet. We have B, then we have O, then we have M, and another B. Bomb. Broken buttons, bomb. What is the last word? A-N-D, and. It just stops at and. That seems to invite us to add something to the end. Again, if you want to think about it, pause the video here. What could go after this? Okay, the answer is, we look at broken buttons. Broken buttons. I didn't mean to type that there. There we go. And then in the manual, there is something that deals with the words bomb and something else. Boom. Right, and here we have our answer code, so we can use the check answer tool to check this. Boom is indeed the right answer. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed this puzzle, and I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed solving the puzzle. And I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time with TimWee Presents.